My name is Etga. I come from Turkey. I came to the United States in 2001 to do graduate work. At the time when I graduated from college, there was an economic crisis in Turkey, and I wasn't very sure about my career plans. So I said I will give a shot to doing a PhD in political science, and that's how I ended up coming to the United States. At the time, it was pretty straightforward. So I just got an F1 student visa. It was really timely, and I arrived on time for school start. So there were no complications, but things got a little complicated shortly after I arrived in the United States. So about a month after I arrived, 9/11 happened. And so imagine I've been in a different country for the first time. It's been about a month, and I don't have TV in my house. So I wasn't very aware of what happened when I went to school that morning. And obviously I felt like something was wrong. There was a lot of tension in the air. And so we started talking about people's feelings in classrooms, kind of to check in with everybody. And, a lot of people were really angry, and we were talking about retribution and a lot of, blaming going on against Muslims in general. So it was a scary time. I was really not sure how really to address some of these challenges at the time. So, I experienced, some rising Islamophobia in the United States. And there were threats and vandalism directed towards community centers, mosques that I attended. I remember for a pretty long time, we had police officers coming to Friday prayers, for example. So that was kind of the negative experience, but also on a more positive note, I was really encouraged by people who became allies to stand up with, the Muslim community, to speak truth to power, and also promote well-being of the other community members, to look after each other. And I think that's the part of America that really impressed me, during this very early time, in my time in the United States. When something like 9/11 happens, people don't necessarily have a very nuanced view of a community or a religion. So oftentimes you hear generalized hostility towards one group of people, and associating, say, these fringe groups who claim to represent a particular, faith community, to associate with the broader, larger community. So I did find myself quite frustrated with, having to explain many times that they do not represent, an overwhelming, vast majority of Muslims in the world. And but also I realize, it's an important teaching opportunity, right? If while there were lots of angry people, there were also a lot of curious people. I think there was a time when a lot of documentaries were made about Islam and Muslims. There were many public community talks that were happening. So I think on the one hand, yes, it was difficult, it was challenging. But on the other hand, I think it also ended up giving the opportunity to educate the public about Islam and Muslims, and to kind of debunk the general perceptions and misconceptions about Islam. I think first and foremost, it taught me the importance of social justice, standing up for vulnerable people, helping, other community members, community members who may not share my beliefs or who may not have the same kind of lifestyle or experience I have. So we are all together. We are all stronger if we stand up for each other, if we care about each other. That's, I think, something I really understood, I hope, by this experience. And I also understood the importance of getting involved in the community to work with others. And as a result, I found out about an initiative that the city was doing in Salt Lake City. It was called Bridging the Religious Divide. And I was learning about some historical grievances between the members of the LDS Church and those who were not members. And there's a history behind it. And it was interesting for me to understand what was at the center of these issues. And I participated, even though I wasn't a direct recipient of that, tension myself. And I remember how food became such an important bridging means for people, coming together, having potlucks and talking about people's backgrounds and experiences, what hurt people in the past. I think those kind of things really made me become more aware of the importance of understanding other people, where they're coming from, and also how to move forward, really, not just to get stuck in these issues. What healing should look like. And on a more, professional level, I ended up getting really interested in religion and politics, the participation of religious groups in the public sphere. How do they present themselves? How do they interact with each other, with other civil society actors or other political actors? So I ended up doing my dissertation on a comparative study of religion and politics in United States, Utah, and in Turkey, which later on evolved into a book. So my early experience, I think, shaped a lot about my career path, my intellectual interests, and also, I think, my sense of what is important for the community engagement. So after I finished my doctorate, I spent 2 years at Michigan State University as a postdoc researcher, and I also taught classes. And then I got a job offer from UW-Tacoma here, and that was in 2013, and I've been here since then. I think we need to understand that there is a very diverse group of people when we talk about immigrants, and this diversity is not just only national background or ethnic or cultural, religious background, but also different individual expectations, experiences. And so, you can have, say, the Turkish community, or Muslim community. I think it's meaningful to talk about these communities, but also there is so much diversity within these communities. And it's important to, I think, recognize that. The other thing I think that's important is immigrants are really hardworking, and they contribute a lot to our community. They bring us, they make the life more meaningful here. They bring fresh perspectives about, some questions and problems we have. So in that sense, I think they really need to be appreciated. They need to be welcomed here, and they need to feel they belong. in this community, and they do. Yeah, so I mean, while some of those early tensions subsided in many places, Muslim communities, like other minority communities, like Jewish communities, that has been a rise in anti-Semitic attacks to synagogues. There has been attacks, racially based hate crimes against Black members of our communities. So we have, I think, a problem that includes, these hate crimes, attacks, and we had one just last year in Tacoma. There was an arson attack against the Islamic Society of Tacoma. That's like right on the border with University Place and Tacoma. And so the Muslim community had to actually vacate that property because it was not repairable. So they have looked and found another location to build their community center and a mosque. But I think what's important during this time was there was so much support from other communities, leaders of the churches, different faith groups, the civic leaders, political leaders. They have given a lot of support. So, I mean, while I think it was an unfortunate event, on the other hand, we also were really fortunate to see that outflowing of support and solidarity that shows us that, there is a spirit here in this community. There is, we stand together. That was really important. So I teach classes on Middle East politics and American foreign policy. So I try to emphasize and raise awareness about the importance of international issues. And, when 9/11 happened, a lot of people didn't have very much information about Islam or Muslims or Arabs who lived in the Middle East. And people had oftentimes very short memories and skewed understandings of American relations with the rest of the world. So I think my humble contribution would be to bring awareness to issues that are happening elsewhere, but they're also important. They also matter. They are relevant to our experiences locally. And I think UW-Tacoma is a great asset for our community. And I hope, my involvement there, also I try to get involved in the community as much as possible. I hope those mean something. They're important. They are some contributions. I will tell them that Tacoma is a unique, a welcoming, and a diverse community. And it's a great place to be if, you would like to get acknowledged about who you are, if you want to find an environment that is supportive. And I think there's one thing that people who come from other places should keep in mind is, embrace who you are. Never forget, your own culture, your own background, your identity. The more you embrace it, the more you're proud of your own identity, the more I think people appreciate your contribution, the more people feel that you are part of this community, your ideas, your culture, your food, they are part of this community. So I think it goes both ways, of course. Making people feel they belong here would make them more comfortable about, expressing their identity and bringing their culture. But on the other hand, I think for immigrant communities, being proud, right, of who they are, and understanding that there are so many people out there who are willing to accept them, who are really interested in their stories, and who are interested to learn about their culture. That may be right. There are always, bad apples everywhere. So there may be some bad experience, but I think in general, if people embrace themselves and their own ideas, I think we're more likely to have more of a welcoming, diverse, and meaningfully connected communities here in Tacoma.